All right, well, thank you for your patience with us as we entered our executive session. And next up, we'll take a look at some committee reports. So from finance, we have this year's budget, which we'll be addressing later on in our meeting. Is there anything else regarding finance that's relevant to bring up now?
We're moving forward with our contract with Just Mediation Pittsburgh. I finally got the templates ready for the handouts that should go out with Just Mediation's administrative packets. Just waiting on their approval, and then we'll be able to actually finally put a resolution forward, which has been drafted for months now. It's just been a little bit of back and forth about the statement of work and identifying what kind of reporting Just Mediation will give us in return for distribution of the materials and all that.
Okay. Great. So we'll stay posted on that and probably have something maybe to vote on by our next meeting. Regarding personnel, there are a number of various personnel related matters that are in Rachel's report. And then obviously later on, you can see in our agenda that it is time to do our annual review. I don't have any further personnel items to bring up. And then let me go to Namita for a report from Community Relations.
I'm so sorry. My dog famously thinks he's a lapdog.
The co-chair of the committee, the Community Relations Committee.
That's right. I don't have a tremendous amount of updates, but I will say I know that this committee has been abreast of kind of the ongoing situation happening with language access at the Greyhound station, and it seems like over the weekend there was a pretty substantial incident that was thankfully resolved quickly, but that conversation seems to be escalating. So I know that Rachel and Christopher and I have all been kind of poking at it and trying to figure out what's next, but it seems like there's maybe some more players involved than there were before.
I'm sorry, we disconnected for a second. Commissioner, would you remind what project that was from Community Relations that we were talking about, which topic?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was just saying over the weekend, I know that there was a lot more publicity around some of the language access issues at the Greyhound station. There were several dozen people who were temporarily stranded. For context for people who aren't aware. And so I think that there's just going to be a greater amount of people who are invested in seeing the situation resolve, which hopefully it will.
Yeah, I had Monica Ruiz from Casa San Jose reach out to me via email over the weekend, so I'm still trying to connect with her for a phone call so we can see what we can offer in the way of support.
Thanks to everybody involved in community relations for your work on this topic. And also, I mean, obviously this is a busy season for our community outreach efforts with so many events to table at. And we'll be hearing more about that in Rachel's report, and also hopefully all of us stepping up to participate in that good work. So that said, Rachel, let's go to you.
So first thing is first, personnel and administration. We are hiring for a new investigator. I did include the link in the packet for the job description. It is also on our Facebook. It is on my LinkedIn. It is everywhere that I can think of to post it. So please share it widely. We'd love to get a really broad, diverse pool of applicants this time around. And I really don't want to leave any stones unturned. But that post will be up until June 18th. And then after that, we'll start with the redaction process as we usually do, and then the initial review of candidates. If anyone would like to be a part of that process, and I'm happy to share, the interviewing with someone else. If you'd like to be a part of it, to sit in even just to see what the candidates are like, I'm very much open to that. So please let me know. And with our cases and enforcement, so we do have 58 open investigations currently, between the 3 investigators, 33 pending intakes, 14 post-cause cases, which is very high. We've got quite a few of them that are pending mandatory conciliation, so we are working to get those scheduled. Trying to lean on some of our internal staff as well as our volunteer mediators for that. And then we do have 3 cases that are on the public hearing track with notices that are going out. So we will need to convene a public hearing section meeting at some point in the near future to discuss availability of the commissioners for the panels, dates of availability, and things of that nature. So if our public hearing chair would start thinking about dates that would be good to hold that meeting, that would be really wonderful.
That would be super, will do.
And we're gonna see about 6 determinations at compliance review this month, including 1 settlement.
Okay.
Our 2023 annual report is finally finished. Special thanks to Kevin and Courtney. Kevin did all of our statistics for this, pulling all of the case data. And Courtney did all of this design work, lots of proofreading and editing and re-editing. So it looks really great this year. I'm really proud of it. It is coming out a little bit later than usual, but this is also now on our website. So if you'd be interested in a paper copy, we're getting some of those. I can send them out. Or please just share it widely with your digital networks. We'll probably include it in our summer newsletter as well, so that we can try to get some of the word out about the work that the commission does every year, because it's more than what you might expect. We had some staff training from the Fair Housing Partnership this month. We are starting to see an influx of cases from housing and urban developments that are federally funded housing providers. That's not something that they previously trusted us with. I think that they are really leaning heavily on their assistance programs to process cases and conduct enforcement. So we are starting to get some of those because FHP has seen a higher number of those. They came in to provide some education on how we should process investigations, the do's and don'ts, and like different areas that we can collect evidence for those cases, which was super helpful. Very thankful for them. I was able to take a free trauma and racism training through Lakeside. They've been offering free trauma trainings on the 1st of the month, pretty much this entire year so far. And I think I've taken 2 of them, but yeah, they've been really great. It's a really diverse pool of people that are taking these from all different sorts of professional positions. So it gives you a lot of perspective of like what other people that we maybe people that we are like referring folks to are the kinds of things that they're experiencing, in addition to like the kinds of things that we are seeing as law enforcement. So that was very, very good. Chris and I were able to go to the Pittsburgh Community Redevelopment Group Summit. That was also excellent. So many motivated people in Pittsburgh. It's really heartening to be able to see that there are so many folks that are interested in making a positive difference. I also walked away feeling a little bit heavy on my shoulders because so much of what they talked about during the summit has ties to the systemic racism that we are seeing with our cases all the time. So there are a lot of areas for us to do more work, to get out and do some more policy work and partnerships, and we are moving on some of those now. Staff were able to take a series of discrimination and models of proof training through the EEOC this month, which is pretty awesome because we were able to put faces to names that we usually only see in emails. Like we work with a couple of folks over at EEOC. They'll answer our questions. We go back and forth about enforcement and contracts and things like that, but they actually were previously investigators and were able to conduct the training. So it was mostly a refresher because all of our staff are very well trained in this stuff already, but yeah, I thought it was nice to be able to, see the other folks that are out there doing the work for the EEOC and get a feel for how experienced their investigators are, and to get that perspective from really experienced federal investigators. A couple reminders for upcoming community events. We're doing a lot of tabling over the summer. We just did Pride over the weekend, which was super, it was so well done. I think all city, or organizers for events like that should take some pointers from what was just done with Pride this weekend. It was very well accomplished. But we also have City in the Streets. Thank you, Rabbi Gibson, for coming out on Thursday night for that. So we have the upcoming dates with the Hill District, which is actually on a Saturday from 10 to 2. So it's a little bit longer of a period. These have been typically held in the evenings. And then Hazelwood, you'll see, is in July, and that one is from 6 to 8 p.m. But these are all city departments that are tabling, providing information on what resources they can give to the community. They've had, folks like OMB had games that they were providing to get some engagement with people, things like budgeting. We've been doing tabling and trying to highlight our LGBTQIA+ housing research. That's mostly what we did at Pride this weekend. But we're going to continue moving that forward up through the point where we're actually going to have our surveys be distributed. We're waiting on this confirmation for our table, but we did just get a form today for payment for Juneteenth, so it's looking good, but that is on June 14th through 16th. The tentative times that we have right now are 11 to 4. This may change. If I get more information, I will share it with you all. I've been sending calendar invitations so that people can just have it right where they need it. And then I attached the map to this packet. So if anyone needed to know exactly where we were going to be, but it's going to be along that like Liberty Avenue. This section right here is where we will be.
Liddy, do you have a point of order?
Okay, or is it a point of personal privilege? I just wanted to let everybody know that not only is my phone dead, but I also apparently don't have my computer charging cable. So if I drop out of this meeting, Commissioner Gibson is going to step up and chair for a moment while I run to my house and get my computer cable. Many apologies.
If you're near a desk phone, you can dial in too.
Oh, that's true. Good point. Good point.
No, we always forget that it's, you can do audio only.
Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit quicker then. We're going to make sure that you can hear stuff. So we're working with FHP. We've been scheduling regular landlord and housing provider training. So we can offer more for the folks that have settlement agreements with us that have to they have required trainings that they have to complete, but also for any housing providers that might be interested. So if you can think of anybody who would benefit from that or that might be interested in participating, we're open to everybody. I believe the next one will be on June 17th. Possibly the 19th. That's why there's no date in here, but we were looking at mid-June. It'll likely get kicked out a little bit further now so we can do some outreach. We've had some continued connections with Standing Firm. They are working on the employment and economic sector of the impact of domestic violence. We are going to participate in a conference with them at the end of October this year. It's going to be a joint panel with a number of other entities that are across Pittsburgh doing similar work to what we are, one of them being the EEOC. So really exciting. We're working to try and get the city on board with Standing Firm's training program so that we can actually get the managers of the city trained in how to respond if there is a situation with an employee who's experiencing domestic violence, so that they are fully informed, they know what to do, they know how to respond, and they don't just kind of sweep it under the rug or get awkward and not helpful. So we're looking at that. The Pennsylvania Fair Housing Collaborative meeting these are about monthly, and we were able to just kind of debrief from Fair Housing Month. Everybody did a ton of different things, but these are monthly meetings with the State Commission and some other fair housing initiatives programs, the ones that do testing and advocacy and things like that. So it's always a nice time to connect with them and see what they're up to. I did have an update from the folks who were on the Community Relations Committee meeting. So we were looking at that police academy rejection issue that was happening, where we had originally been told that there were 22 Black applicants. They were all rejected on the basis of their psychological evaluation. That was not the case. It turns out there were 22 total people, but 5 of them were they were African American. So what the academy ended up doing, what the police ended up doing, is opening back up to those folks within the last 2 years who failed their psychological evaluation, and that was the reason they were rejected, so that they could be re-evaluated by a different psychologist I suppose the one that they had on contract was let go, or the contract was terminated, or maybe expired, and they were looking for a new one anyway, so now they are in that space where they're giving the opportunity. It's something that we're watching. Obviously, we don't want them to have to like backpedal and do this anytime they make a mistake. But it is something that they're owning up to, the fact that they recognize that there was a good portion of the applicants that were turned away and that were also African American. So we're gonna stay connected with the NAACP. We have our next meeting scheduled for August so that we can follow up and see if there are any new developments or anything further that we'd like to move forward on. Chris and I had the opportunity to go and tour the Latino Community Center's new location, speak with some of their outreach and education team. It was a confusing meeting. They thought that we were someone else and providing some different services around education, but it ended up being really good. We were able to speak to them. We're going to collaborate on some of their community meetings so that we can talk to the public about any issues that they might be having with civil rights. It sounds like that comes up a lot during their community meetings and they weren't quite sure who to contact. So we made more connections. So even if it was a confusing meeting, we got something out of it. Our continued legal education, employment discrimination, the administrative process. So we finally have a firm date for this. We are looking at July 31st. It's going to be held here at the City County building. This is meant for the attorneys in the employment realm who do employment discrimination cases. We're partnering with the EEOC. They will be here to describe their process, their mediation specifically. And then we will work to educate the employment attorneys on how to engage with us, how to work through an investigation, what our roles look like versus the EEOC's, and how things in the administrative process differ from the court process. So we're looking to have that on the 31st. Lunch will be provided. We do have this lovely flyer attached, so if you would like to share it, I did include it separately on the email that I sent everybody about the commission meeting with the packet, but we're looking to have attorney and paralegal credit eligible for this event. We had a number of paralegals reach out to us and say this would be awesome. We would love to be there. We would love to get credit for it. So we are working with them to get that done. Yeah, our WESA equal employment ads are running this month. We're looking into some bus shelter advertisements. We're just trying to be a little bit more creative with the types of advertising we do and maybe just keep them going on a rotating basis. We haven't done bus card ads for a while, so that's something else we can look into. Those ones are beneficial because if nobody replaces them immediately, then they just stay up indefinitely. So I think we ran them in 2016 and I continued seeing them until like 2018 in some buses. So that was really nice. Really good longevity there. We have our council briefing. It's tentatively rescheduled. They gave me a date, they gave me times, and then they said, let's confirm later. We were having some network issues last week, but tentatively it's going to be July 9th. They're starting at 2 p.m. There'll be 2 45-minute sessions so that we can make sure that there's not quorum, so that there's no issue there. But if anyone would like to be present for that, please let me know. I'd be happy to have you. I mean, we're just talking about the commission's process, what we can offer them, if city council and their staff, what they can tell constituents, how they can refer people to us, and just, give them the lay of the land, because so many of them just don't understand the full extent of our capabilities. Really glad that we finally got that rescheduled though. We're working on the new city code protections for medical marijuana users and employment, individualized assessment of people with a criminal history in housing and also homelessness. And we're targeting housing initially, but we're also looking to expand to employment and public accommodations. It is a lot. We do talk about this more in community relations. So if you're interested in being more of a part of that conversation, please join those meetings. They happen on the last Monday of each month in the evening. We're continuing to do our work with the Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs. They are having the International Day Parade this Saturday. So if you are free around noon, that is happening downtown Pittsburgh, and in Market Square, they're going to have the World Square. So we've been advertising for that, but we're working specifically with the housing implementation team. Oh, sorry, Rabbi.
Will somebody make Wasi a panelist? He's trying to get in. Thank you.
I keep giving permission, but it doesn't want to do it, just like any other meeting for some reason.
Well, that's discrimination against
Uh,
people from Asia, right?
It would be, thank you Zoom for blocking me from making, okay, it says now that he's rejoining as a panelist, awesome, okay. And then I think that might be Liddy, who is the guest on the phone. Liddy, is that you on the phone?
That's me. Hello.
Got it, okay. All right, I think we're good now. All right, so, what was I saying? Oh, so, working with the Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs, we're doing a Renting to Newcomers presentation. There will be a bunch of us working together to provide information on that. We're trying to like demystify the fact that there are people not from this country trying to find housing in this country. For housing providers so that they know what to expect, they know what the benefits of it are, they know what organizations to work through and how to properly work with them. And then our piece obviously is going to be on the anti-discrimination front and how to provide fair housing to these folks, even though they are newcomers and they may not know quite what to do. So they used to do a renting to refugees program. That was a few years ago, which was pretty successful in getting some new landlords on board for that list of folks for the resettlement agencies. So we're hoping for the same kind of effect, but for all statuses of people, not just refugees. Our LGBTQIA+ housing rights survey is drafted. We are getting some input from the other stakeholders in the city of Pittsburgh. We've been trying to talk with the LGBTQIA+ commission. They have been unable to make quorum for the last couple of months, so it's been difficult, but we're going to keep pressing on with that. We're also working with other locations like Hugh Lane and We're Pittsburgh and Sisters and just so many different places, Women's Center and Shelter, because we're trying to get a lot of feedback on the survey questions that we have so that we can be as specific as we can and to elicit the information that's really going to be useful for everyone. So we are workshopping those and we have begun the community engagement. So this went out before Pride, but we did have Friday from 2 to 8 and Saturday from 10 to about 2:30 at Pride, which was really useful. We had some public engagement where we had a map of the city up with the neighborhoods, and we asked people to put an X where they feel like unsafe or unaffirmed, and then a heart where they feel like they can be themselves, stars where they live, so that we can get an idea of what the neighborhood layout kind of feels like for that community. It was interesting. We had a lot of folks. There were a bunch of trends that came up that I can talk through further. We can talk about it more in community relations, but a lot of older folks that are homeowners that feel very settled, and a lot of renters, particularly people of color in the trans community, that are feeling very unsafe in the city right now. So yeah, not anything too surprising, but it feels very good to hear from the people directly and to have them trust in us enough to give us those stories and to share with us. So it was a really good weekend.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Rachel, for all of that good work. Does anyone have any questions for Rachel about any aspect of her report? I know I'm really interested in hearing more about the results of the informal survey that you were doing at Pride around the neighborhood. So I will be sure to attend the next community relations meeting, and I hope you all will join me in that effort. So great. All right, so I believe that brings us to our old business in our agenda. June is the month that is appointed for us to elect our new slate of officers for this coming year. So at our last meeting, you all completed a survey expressing your own interest in serving in various officer positions, and also you have the opportunity to nominate your peers to serve as officers. And from that, Rachel reviewed the results. She and I talked them over, and we have assembled a slate of nominations. I'd like to name that slate now, and then also open up the opportunity for any additional nominations from the floor, so that we can either elect the whole slate in one go, or we can separate it out and elect each office individually if there are. So our slate is as our chairperson, Tiara Collins, as our first vice chair, Genevieve Russello, as our second vice chair, Jamie Gibson, as our secretary, Namita, and I am sorry, Namita, please pronounce your last name for me.
It's Dworkanath.
Okay, awesome. Dwarkanath.
Beautiful. That was perfect.
Oh, thank you so much. Okay, perfect. All right, great. Is as secretary, and Carlene, whose last name is not in front of me at the moment, as our treasurer. Apologies to you too, Carlene. Help us out.
King. Carlene King.
King. Easy enough. All right, super. Okay, are there any corrections to that slate, objections to the slate, additional nominations from amongst our number for any of these elected offices to serve the commission next year?
So I would correct that Namita was on the slate for treasurer, as were Colleen and Tiara. And
Oh, wait.
it was Alberto and Tiara.
Oh, okay. So we don't actually we need to have an election for those offices? Is that what you are saying?
Yes, so I actually just put out a poll through the Zoom that people can, for the positions that there's only one, it literally says like the person's name and then none, so those are pretty easy. And then for just the treasurer and the secretary positions, we need votes.
Okay. So please go to that, complete the poll, and we will report back on the results.
Can you all see that? I did like launch it, so I'm not sure if it's going through.
We see it. We can't vote though. It says hosts and panelists cannot vote. So I think maybe only the public can vote.
Oh, interesting.
That would be an interesting way for us to run our election.
Because every time I try to use Zoom to our advantage, it does not work.
Can I just ask a quick question? Because there are some contested seats.
Yeah.
Is there anyone who doesn't did all the people accept the nomination?
I'm
Yeah.
going to say you can take me out for treasurer. I'm still not clear if there's a potential conflict, and I don't want there to be anything that comes up. So please feel free to remove me from that. At that time, Rachel and I had spoken and nobody was running. So don't vote for me. This is my, is my vote.
Don't vote for, okay.
Yeah, that's my campaign. You can run it, Rabbi
That's a
Gibson.
great campaign, Namita. I tried that campaign too, but unfortunately,
Not as successful for you, it seems.
it was not successful.
I feel like it was overly successful. If you could repeat for me, candidates for secretary and candidates for treasurer. Because they're the only two contestants, is that right?
So for treasurer, for treasurer, if Namita is withdrawing, it's Carlene and Tiara. And for secretary, it's Alberto and Tiara, but Tiara is the only one who volunteered to be chairperson. So that is also a consideration.
Yay, Tara.
Yeah, I think that a person
So-
can't hold more than one office. So I
I
think, Tiara, if you're willing to accept the nomination as chairperson, then that would just leave us with one person each for the other offices.
And I was gonna say that would work perfectly because I really only did it because there was no one on for the others. So I will take the chair.
Okay.
Can I ask, because I don't have the slate in front of me, that the names and the offices be read aloud, so before a vote?
Yes. So here's what I have now for the offices. I think it's straightened itself out. Is Tiara Collins as chair, Steve Rossello as first vice chair, Jamie Gibson as second vice chair, Alberto Benzaquin as secretary, and Carlene King as treasurer.
I move the slate be accepted.
I second.
All right. Is there any discussion? And hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
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 Hi.
Aye.
Right.
Aye.
I believe we've accomplished it. I think I heard enough ayes. So great. Congratulations to all of our new office holders. We're happy to have you serving the commission, and I would just like to express particular gratitude to all those stepping up into officer roles, having served as an officer now for a number of consecutive years, and with my own term drawing to a close. I'm really grateful to you all for taking on that responsibility of leadership. So thank you so much.
And thank you, Liddy, for all of your help directing and getting the new folks on and all acclimated. So thank you for all of your service too.
Yeah, it's been a real joy, and I'm not going anywhere until I get replaced by the mayor's office. So we'll see. For now, I'll still be around.
Great.
May it move with
All right.
all the speed of city time, Liddy.
We'll see how it goes. If please forward your nominations for new commissioners to the mayor's office. Thank you very much. All right, moving on. We do have some new business to take on this afternoon. Also, the first is an EEOC matter that has come before us, and I would suggest that it would be appropriate to have a motion that proposes a settlement amount in the amount of $15,000 for EEOC case 533-2023-00912. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
And I'll second. And
I
I think Abby was gonna second as well, so.
All right. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Are there any objections or anyone would like to abstain? All right, hearing none, I believe that motion has passed. Thank you very much for your attention to that. Our second item under new business is the review process for the director, which is actually really a personnel committee matter. Rachel, was there anything you wanted to say to that?
Just a quick reminder, I don't know if, the process is usually held in the month of June. I know that I've only been, officially director since November, so I'm not sure how y'all would want to go about this, but the Personnel Committee just does a standard review of my process, how I'm holding the position, recommendations for professional development, et cetera. So I can look at past information if you need, but I think, so you're still with Personnel Committee, and have you been a part of the review before, Commissioner Barlow?
Yeah, I've done a lot of reviews, so yes. So I think it probably makes sense for the Personnel Committee to discuss, because it has been less than a year since you're hiring, kind of what that might look like this year. So I think we'll try to convene a meeting of the Personnel Committee in the near term, so that if we do decide to go through with a full review, we can complete it in the appointed period. All right. And that brings us then to the draft budget, which was also included in your. So just to provide a little bit of background on this for commissioners who are new, we have been asking the city for the last several years to add a position in our, have some responsibility for doing community outreach, for doing some community engagement, some communications work. And again, every year the city comes back and says that they can't add any new positions, and we're out of luck. So instead of making that same old request again, the budget that you see in your packets today actually suggests kind of reorganizing our current staff so that we can have the opportunity to do some outreach with a position title that we already have approval for, because it's dates to a recent structure of our staff that it's not our current structure, but it's recent enough that it's still sort of on the books as a potential job title for our office. So if you look at the page in your packet that's titled 2025 salary roster, you can see like at the top of the page is the way that our positions in our office are currently distributed, which includes position, which is the fiscal and contracting coordinator, and Kevin's position, which is titled administrative assistant. At the bottom of the page, you can see what we are proposing in this budget, which keeps all of our investigator positions the same, moves Kevin into a position called outreach and intake coordinator, which is, again, a position that already exists, but has not been filled for several years. Retitles Courtney's position as executive assistant, but that's mostly just a change in her title to reflect her duties as opposed to a change that affects the budget. And you'll see that there is some allowance in here for part-time staff, which might be able to cover some of the duties that Kevin is currently doing in his administrative assistant role. So that's the primary, this reshuffling of titles in order to change job responsibilities is the primary change in our proposed budget this year, for next year. The other changes that you can see on the like the main budget table page are really relatively minor changes of, you know, a couple $100 here and a couple $100 there. We also shift some funds from the savings that we are making on our new solicitor contract. We're shifting that into other professional services, including translation, which is a Signet. So Rachel, please correct any errors that I just made in reviewing the budget and draw our attention to anything else that we should know before we give this budget our approval.
No, you summarized it really well. Essentially, we're just going to do an internal restructure and it'll cost us, you know, it'll cost the city an additional almost $12,000 to be able to give us what we really need, which is outreach and intake coordinator, which is a position that we had a few years ago, had to roll back because we needed an additional investigator because we were just getting hit with entirely too many complaints. And we rolled back the FCC position because so much of what had been previously done by that position is actually work that should have been done by the deputy or the executive director. So we've just kind of spread things out in a way that we can better balance it and now start to move into that outreach space the way that we want it to. And it's a relatively small ask. We don't anticipate, you know, if we're not asking for literally anything else, then they would have a hard time saying no. This is much lower in an ask than what we previously wanted, which was a whole new position with benefits close to like $75,000. But yeah, I think this is going to be a really creative way to get what we need in the coming years using what we've already got on board.
I have a hand raised in Zoom.
Did somebody want to comment?
Somebody had a hand up. I can't see it necessarily, but I don't. Yes, Rabbi, we are asking for like less than a decimal point in the city's budget. That is the point. Like we are already getting such a small fraction of what the city brings in, that this ask is even smaller than anything I can imagine anyone else asking for. So I feel like they'll have a hard time saying no. Also, if it'll shut us up from trying to add a new position, which I'm not going to stop doing, but you know, maybe they'll think it'll calm it down for a little bit. But yeah, we think it's a really good opportunity, and we can move forward to vote on this next month. We can put together a more formal budget packet for everyone's review and take a vote to see if we accept this. But I'm open to any feedback that anyone has on the budget itself. Oh, yes, and as Rita mentioned, the union is on board with this because it will add an AFSCME position. Before we had the investigator positions are all AFSCME union, and this would add as the outreach and intake coordinator, that's another union position. And they are in support of us bringing that position back, so it would make them happy as well.
And just a reminder for anyone who's new and is sort of wondering how this whole budget process works. What we do, so next month when we formally take our vote on this budget, what that does is it sends our budget to the mayor's office to be incorporated into the mayor's overall proposed budget, which then gets submitted to city council for ultimately city council's approval. So there's a lot of steps along the way in this budgeting process, but this is the part that we have control over. The rest of it is not directly within our hands, but we do have some role in advocating for ourselves in the budget process. So that's kind of the steps that follow from this point.
And in working with the budget office, they are also in support of this move. They very much tried to deter us from asking for that position again this year. But when I brought this to them and said, would they be open to position swaps instead? And then this like smaller promotion, they were very much on board with that and said that would be a lot more well received than asking for a full position of benefits. So thumbs up everywhere, thankfully.
Okay. Are there any other comments about the budget, or are there any other matters that need to come before the commission this afternoon? All right. Well, hearing none, I would, for my last time as chairperson, look for a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Can I just, point of personal privilege, at this last meeting, I would like to offer a motion of appreciation and gratitude toward Reverend Liddy Barlow for everything she's done for this commission over her years of leading it.
Seconded wholeheartedly.
Third,
All in favor?
Aye.
I can't.
Aye.
Hey. Wait, did Rita just vote?
Yeah. She can't vote. I also cannot vote, but I give a round of applause and you have no idea.
That whole thing was like so out of order per Robert's rules, but I will accept it. Thank you very much.
It is like, I'm
No,
here
I
as the
really-
union rep. Yeah.
Yeah, no, look, like I said, I'm not actually leaving anytime soon, but thank you all very, very much. I really, you know what, it has been, it's been a journey, and I am grateful to all of you, and especially like, when I think where we were as a commission 1 year ago versus where we are right now, I am extremely, extremely hopeful and thankful for all of you and for all that this commission's going to do. So I'm very excited. All right, we had, I think, a motion to adjourn. Yes, Jamie, what?
I second that motion.
Okay,
You can't
all right,
second your
cool.
own motion, Jamie.
Yeah, it was your motion.
I think we had a few others also second it, so.
All right, fantastic. All in favor of adjourning this meeting, please say aye.
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 All right. Great. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next month. And if you are on the public hearing section or the personnel committee, please look out for an email from me so that we can get ourselves scheduled and do our work.
Liddy, can I just ask real quick how we know?
Oh, how we know which committees and sections we're on?
Yeah, I don't think meetings keep getting posted on my calendar, and I don't know which ones I'm supposed to go to, but there's a lot.
Yeah.
So
So Kyle, I want to say that you're the motions commissioner. Am I right?
oh,
Rachel?
I am the motions commissioner. I did get an email pointing me to that. Is that my committee?
So that's your section.
Sorry, everyone. You
So
all
there
can
are
sign
two-
off. I don't mean to hold people on for this conversation. So my apologies, guys.
Okay.
Compliance
so-
section,
so-
action. See ya.
Yeah.
I got
Bye.
today because where I'm at is at big time. Bye, guys.
Bye. So Liddy, I'm motions commissioner, and that's my committee, and I'm good after that.
Yeah, so motions commissioner is actually takes the place of your section. So you're neither in compliance review nor in
Cool.
public hearing. You're like hanging out by yourself as the motions commissioner.
Awesome.
The committee assignments are a little bit looser and more self-selected. So it's really up to you whether you'd like to serve in finance, personnel, community relations, or a mix of, like, people can serve in more than one committee.
All right, cool. Sweet.
So, all right. And I think our practice has often been, especially around community relations, to just kind of send that meeting invite to everybody because it's
Cool.
interesting and people might want to participate. So,
All right, cool. Sounds good. Thanks so much. Sorry to keep
Okay.
everyone on for a second.
Sure.
Bye,
no
everyone.
problem. All right. Have a great night, everybody, and we'll talk soon. All right. Bye-bye.